Hello peeps, welcome back to Big Deck Playa with me, Matt Sparks. On today's show we are taking a look at another warrior deck. A completely different style of play with this warrior deck though from last week's face deck. This week we have a control warrior deck, and this was posted on Hearthstone by Sjow. We're starting at the top. It's a control warrior deck, so we're going to have lots of the classic stuff from the old control warriors. So we got 2 executes because one of the best kind of forms of removal, especially for a warrior. Execute is amazing. And we also have a 1 mana 2 shield slams. So there's going to be a lot of armor. There's going to be a lot of armor in control warriors. So shield slams can be particularly effective on getting rid of big minions, as well as getting rid of sort of mid-range minions as well. 2 fiery war axe because it's a control warrior, and it's just a warrior deck in general. I mean, every warrior deck should have a fiery war axe. Also at 2 mana we have 2 slams. You deal 2 damage to something, and if it survives you draw a card, which is great because you'll need some card draw because you can sometimes run out a little bit playing a control warrior. But it's also good because it means that you can do 2 damage to something, draw a card, and then maybe you need to execute it to get rid of it. So it's a nice way of dealing damage to something that's not been damaged, so you can use your execute to finish it off. Also at 2 mana we have 1 Beckoner of Evil. Now obviously you want to try and get this in your opening hand if you can, because it's a great 2-drop minion on its own anyway, because it's a 2/3. But buffing your Cthulhu as early as you can is really a good idea in this deck. Just because there's a lot of things in this deck that require Cthulhu to have 10 attack or more for their kind of battle cry to trigger. So getting your Cthulhu cards in your hand at the start is a good idea. But there is only 1 of these. So the likelihood that you will get it in your hand at the start is slim, but if you can, then that's what I would suggest. Fiery War Axe, a Beckoner of Evil. That's usually a good way to start the game. At 3 mana we have 2 shield block. Got to get that card draw, and an extra 5 armor in the process. It's pretty nice. Shield block is a nice way to combo with shield slam. So if you don't have any armor, shield block and shield slam means you can gain 5 armor, draw a card, and then deal 5 damage to something, and hopefully kill it off. It's a nice combo, and that's only for 4 mana, so that's not too bad at all. Also at 3 mana we have an Acolyte of Pain. These are probably a good one to get out fairly early as well if you can, just because you need as many cards as you can. But getting card draw at the start of the game means you have a slight advantage because you've got more selection to choose from. You've got more options to deal with what your opponent plays. Also at 3 mana we have a Brand Bronzebeard. I made the mistake of playing him in one of the games that you might be seeing. Made the mistake. It was a bit of a risk, and I thought I'll play him on an empty board, and then if he's alive the next turn, then I've got 2 battle cries I can play next turn that will, buff up my Cthulhu a lot more. Unfortunately, Brand Bronzebeard is a prime target, and most people will take him out as soon as they can. So my advice is to not do what I did. Don't take that risk, because most of the time, unless your opponent is top decking, playing Brand Bronzebeard onto an empty board on his own is generally a bad idea. Try and play him on the same turn as you intend to play one of your Battlecry minions, and you'll get some kind of value from it. Also at 3 mana we have a Disciple of Cthulhu. This is a nice one to combo with Brand because your Disciple of Cthulhu will end up doing 4 damage to something, and it will give +4/+4 to your Cthulhu instead. So that's a really nice combo. Also we have 2 Ravaging Ghouls, which deal 1 damage to all other minions on its battle cry. This is another nice way to damage minions in order to be able to execute them, and it gives you a minion on the board at the same time, which is very, very cool. Also, it's quite nice to have these out, bring these out when you already have like an Acolyte of Pain out, so you can get some card draw off of it. At 4 mana, we have 2 Cthulhu's Chosen. This is another nice one to combo with Brand Bronzebeard, although not as, I'd say not quite as good as the Disciple of Cthulhu Battlecry, because this one just does a +2/+2. If you can keep Brand Bronzebeard alive and you can play multiple kind of things that buff Cthulhu, then I think you're probably on your way to a win, because that's a pretty strong a pretty strong way to go. Also at 4 mana we have an Elise Starseeker, so this shuffles the map to the Golden Monkey into your deck. 3/5 for 4 mana is pretty good. That's not bad at all. At 5 mana we have 2 Brawls. Now I was a bit kind of like, well, 2, is that a good idea? Because previously in Control Warriors I've had 1 Brawl and maybe a Baron Geddon or something. But I think 2 Brawls is probably slightly better, because in my experience Baron Geddon didn't always do an awful lot. It was great against aggro decks because most of the time they were playing things with sort of like 1, 2, maybe 3 health anyway. So a Baron Geddon was really useful. But I'm finding that a lot of decks nowadays have some slightly bigger minions in them, especially with Evolve Shamans and stuff coming around. So 2 Brawls I think is slightly better. Plus Brawl is cheaper than Baron Geddon. I know you don't get the 7/5 minion at the end of it, but I think Brawl is better just because you've got a better chance of getting rid of bigger, scarier minions. In true Control Warrior style, since the Grand Tournament came to light, we have a Justica Trueheart. It's a 6/3, which is not great, and it usually dies, but you're not playing it because it's a great minion. You're playing it because you get the better hero power. There's no point in playing this with Bran because you don't get an extra special hero power. That's not how it works, unfortunately. But getting the 4 armor each turn is very, very nice. Also 6 mana we have a Sylvanas Windrunner. This is my anti-Cthulhu card. So once you get to like turn 10 or maybe even turn 9, if your opponent doesn't really have much on the board, but you have like 1 or 2 things, they might be setting up, if they're playing a Cthulhu deck obviously, they might be setting up for playing Cthulhu. I generally will try and bait out some of their hard removal or like a polymorph or something, or Hex. I usually try and bait them kind of cards out earlier in the game before I play Sylvanas if I can. But if they're playing a Cthulhu deck, it's quite nice to have Sylvanas in your hand ready to play. If they're a good player, or if they at least know what they're doing, they're not going to play their Cthulhu when you have Sylvanas on the board, because that would just be silly. Alright, now we start getting a bit more expensive. 7 mana, we have 1 Gore Howl. This is the only other weapon, apart from the Fiery War Axe, that's in this deck. Also at 7 mana, we have 2 Ancient Shield Bearers. So these will give you 10 armor, provided your Cthulhu has 10 attack. For 7 mana, a 6/6 minion, that's pretty nice. These are some of the things I might use to bait out Hex, Polymorph, Fireballs, that kind of stuff, so that my Sylvanas will survive when I play her. Plus, these are very nice to play on turn 10 with Bran Bronzebeard, so that you get 20 armor. Awesome. Really, really cool. By turn 10, you're probably going to have quite a lot of armor anyway. Then gaining an extra 20 armor, your opponent's going to be like, oh my god, how am I going to kill this guy when he's on like 30 health and 30 armor? They're not. That's the answer. They're not going to kill you because you're going to win. Also at 7 mana, we have Twin Emperor Veclaw. This is another great card to have with Bran, because you'll get the extra 4/6 taunt, so you can quite easily on turn 10 play Bran and then have 3 4/6 taunts on the board, which is really, really nice. This is also another good way to kind of bait out some of the polymorphs and hexes and stuff, to make sure that your Sylvanas stays alive, ready to take on Cthulhu. It's a really, really nice combo. And 4/6 taunts are a real pain against priests because they don't really know what to do with them. And then finally we got the big guy himself, Cthulhu, at 10 mana. I don't really need to explain what he does. I think everyone probably knows by now. Everyone has access to him, which is pretty nice. So there we go. That is the Cthulhu Control Warrior deck. It's quite expensive because, as you may have noticed, there are quite a lot of legendaries. Bran is from League of Explorers, as is Elise Starseeker. So if you have League of Explorers, you'll probably have those both. Justica Trueheart is awesome if you don't have her yet. Sylvanas is like one of the best in the game, and she's from vanilla. So if you don't have Sylvanas yet, then I would recommend crafting. I think everyone has access to Cthulhu, and Twin Emps are really good because they're neutral, and so you can use them in virtually any deck with Cthulhu. So they're a good one to go for as well. It's a total crafting cost of 7,520 dust, which is quite a lot. So that's about it. I'm really enjoying playing it. I mean, I like playing warrior decks anyway, as I mentioned last week with the face warrior. I prefer playing control warrior, so I'm glad that this is a thing. And when I wasn't playing Cthulhu decks, I was moaning about the fact that I kept coming up against Cthulhu decks. So now that I have a Cthulhu deck and a control warrior deck, I'm happy as Larry, as the saying goes. I don't know who Larry is, and I don't know how happy he is, but I'm happy as him. If you do play this deck, let me know how you get on, or there'll be a link in the description which will take you to Hearthstone, so you can go and check out the deck list and everything for yourself. Go in over there and give him a thumbs up, because this is a great deck and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it seems to be fairly reliable as well. I've had decks in the past that have been fun to play but not very reliable. This so far has been both for me. And I will see you next week for some more Big Deck Player. Thanks again. Bye bye.